Employees oppose the privatization of the Hambantota port. Discussions fail and employees continue their strike action.
මේකට අත්සන් කරන්න එපා මේ දූෂිත දනුදුනුට අත්සන් කරන්න එපා අත්සන් කරොත් මීළඟට හැදෙන ආණ්ඩුවේ FCID එකේ පළවෙනි පොලිමේ ඉන්නේ තමුන්නාන්සේ කියලාත් අපි කියනවා.
Proposed development special provisions bill to introduce a super minister.
අමාත්‍ය ධූරය අගමැතිතුමාට පවර ගත්තොත් විධායක ජනාධිපති ධූරය ඉක්මවා ගිය අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය ධූරයක් බවට පත් වෙනවා.
මේ පනතානුව ගැහණියෙක් පිරිමියෙක් කරන එක විතරයි කරන්න බැරි. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ආවම අපි බලමු පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ වෙන්නේ මොකක්ද?
3 billion rupees of the Ceylon Electricity Board missing, a revelation in Parliament. Individual who made death threats against the president via social media remanded.
Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. Nice to be back in the studios after many years, isn't it?
That's right, it certainly is. We've got a fantastic lineup of stories for you tonight. I'm Sonali Wanigabavige.
And I am Shamir Rasuldin.
Here are your stories in detail. "19 individuals who are charged with treason and branded as traitors by British imperialists for leading the 1818 Uvavellasa revolution have been posthumously pardoned by President Maithripala Sirisena. Issuing a release, the President's media unit quotes the President as saying that these 19 individuals fought on behalf of the freedom of Sri Lanka as patriots.
The 19 individuals who will be thus pardoned include the Kappettipola Disawa, Godagedara Rate Adhikaram, Katakala Mohuttale and Katarigama Mahabetme Rate Rala. Sir Robert Brownrigg, the then governor of the British rule in Sri Lanka, had issued a notification which named and shamed those who took part in the 1818 Uvavellasa uprising as traitors. That notification was made void after President Maithripala Sirisena signed a special decree today.
The strike action launched by a group of employees of the Ruhunu-Magampura port is still continuing. The employees also commenced a Satyagraha campaign this afternoon.
The employees charged that their jobs are at risk due to attempts being made to hand over the Hambantota port to a Chinese company, causing losses to the country. They call on the authorities to recruit them into the port's authority. A ship carrying vehicles and building material is currently anchored at the port, while a line of container trucks could be seen at the entrance to the port. The employees of the oil storage facility of the port also engaged in the Satyagraha campaign that was commenced today.
There
are 22,000 tons of oil at the storage complex and 2,500 tons of gas. There is an automatic cooling system as well. If the power is cut off for some reason and if the cooling system does not function, there could be an explosion in that tank. We will not accept responsibility if this happens. That responsibility should be borne by the government.
The members of the All Ceylon Workers Union of the Colombo Harbour also engaged in a protest opposite the Khan Clock Tower against the decision taken by the government. Cabinet approval was granted to an epistle of the Joint Committee of Ministers to develop and hand over the Hambantota port to a Chinese company. As per the approval, powers have been vested to reach a new agreement with the China Merchant Port Holdings Private Limited after cancelling the agreement that was reached in 2014 with the China Harbour Engineering Company and China Merchant Holdings International Private Limited. However, the board members of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority in a letter to the subject minister says that the officers of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority should have been consulted prior to taking the initial decision and should have been included in the Secretary's committee.
China Merchant
Holdings Private Limited is paying $1,080 million up front and are trying to acquire the Hambantota port for 99 years with 80% for China Merchant Holdings and 20% to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. The Minister of Ports did not agree to this. The Board of Directors of the SLPA did not agree to this. Finally, a cabinet paper is forwarded vesting the power to sell the Hambantota port to the Secretary of the Ministry. This is a disaster. We ask the Secretary of the Ministry of Ports not to approve this. If you sign this, you will be the first in line to be taken to the FCID through the next government. The China Harbour Engineering Company suggested that 65% will be for them and 35% will be for the government. The upfront payment could be $740 million. Then Bhaskara Lingam asked the China Harbour Engineering Company whether they can agree for an 80 to 20%. The company says they cannot make the decision at once. Then the China Merchant Holdings Company is called. Bhaskara Lingam decides to give this to the China Merchant Company without looking at what is mentioned in the agreement. Bhaskara Lingam, Charita Ratwatta and Arjuna Mahendran are the gang who are selling everything and earning money.
අද මේ සියල්ල විකුණගෙන හම්බ කරන කල්ලිය.
හම්බන්තොට චීනයට
Hambantota for the Chinese, the eastern terminal of Colombo to the Indians. These are plans of Ranil Wickremesinghe. He does not have any concept for the country. He only knows of the profits and losses. There are some children who sell off the lands brought through the hard-earned money of their parents for their benefit. They do this to get their daily meal when they fall in trouble. That is what Ranil is doing.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා කියන්නේ ඒ ජාතියේ නම්බර එකේ පොරක්.
මේකේ තියෙන අලාභය අවුරුද්දකට මිලියන් 37800 ගියා.
The loss suffered annually is 37,800 million a year. This is paid by the Colombo Port. We have only received 300 million officially. How can we have only 300 million rupees when we need 6,350 million? When we try to correct what the incompetent administration has done, the finger is pointed at us.
නිවැරදි කරනකොට ප්‍රශ්න කරන්නේ නිවැරදි කරුවට.
Arjun Ranatunga is the Minister of Ports and Shipping. He met with the employees of the Hambantota Port who were staging the demonstration.
Do not be afraid of your jobs. As the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, I cannot give you a promise for your demands because the decisions have not been taken by the Ports Authority. I don't know what kind of name the Magampura Port will take. I'm still trying to increase the share that we are getting. I'm someone who does not agree with 20%. I'm someone who argues for 50% as a minister of this government. I will do my best to increase this share.
One person died and 2 others were injured following an electrical short circuit inside a hostel at the Colombo Port.
The restroom where this incident took place is located roughly 800 meters from Gate 5 of the Jaya container terminal at the Colombo Port. The Harbour Police and Fire Brigade doused the fire that arose as a result. The deceased was 38 years old, while the 2 injured persons are receiving treatment at the National Hospital in Colombo.
The Treasury bond scam in 2015 is still taking centre stage. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party made its stance clear on the bond scam.
There are reports that Arjun Mahendran's company is to purchase television stations. Shares of some companies have been purchased. But there are such serious allegations. Why do you remain silent?
This newspaper is being launched with intention of hurting the ministers who are against corruption. We are prepared to face anything. However, since its inception, these people have been staging media briefings with the people's money. You have a right to stand against this.
Could you release the recommendations of the SLFP report?
There is nothing separate for the SLFP. The recommendations of COPE have been released.
What was handed over to the President? The COPE report on the Treasury bond issue must be debated in Parliament. This can be given to the Attorney General and various things can be done. Throughout history, these were on the racks of the AG department. This was produced in Parliament in order to reach a decision. It must be debated, but it wasn't. They speak of adjourning Parliament in order to conceal this. Not only the issue on the COPE report, we can step away from Parliament for other matters as well.
This cannot be sent to the AG without being debated. The Speaker has the power to direct this report. When we are given an opportunity to debate, we will prove everything with evidence.
Until the Sri Lanka Freedom Party reaches a decision on the COPE report in Parliament, His Excellency the President will not adjourn Parliament.
If Parliament is to be adjourned, the President must sign the order. Without his signature, it cannot be done. There is no idea of that sort at all, and it will not be allowed. We have provided a detailed report on this theft. We are not prepared to change our stance.
The debate on the expenditure heads for 3 ministries, including the Ministry of Tourism Development, was held in Parliament today.
There are 2.2 million who have already come. How can you say that there are no people coming in? Where are the tourists from?
ඔලුකඩි ගාන එනවා නම් ඒ ඇති. ඔබතුමා කිසිම අඩුවක් නැහැ. ඒ වත්තල මන්තිරුව කැඩුවේ කවුද කියලා බලන්න සංචාරක වෙන්නේ. ඒක අමතක කරන්න එපා. ඉන්දියාවෙන් එන්නේ. 71 කැරල්ලයි 89 කැරල්ලෙන් තමයි රට විනාශ වුනේ. ඕන ඉතින් වැරදි පාරේ යනවා. ඕන වැරදි පාරේ යනවා. ජෝන් වැඩේ ජෝන් බස් කරගන්න.
United National Party Parliamentarian Hirunika Premachandra lodged a complaint at the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
Speaking in Parliament, MP Hirunika Premachandra lodged this complaint after she revealed certain anomalies in the prison system. I have all the evidence with me. I want to make the request to carry out a proper investigation. That is why I handed over a letter in this regard. I believe they will commence investigations expeditiously. I ask the authorities very respectfully. I made this statement in Parliament with responsibility. That itself is enough to commence an investigation. A special provisions bill that would create a super minister has been created. What is this special provisions bill that could possibly give rise to a super minister?
The allegation that is raised at present is that if the draft of the Development Special Provisions Bill receives parliamentary approval, then the position of a super minister will be created. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution of the Prime Minister to present this bill to Parliament on the 25th of October. A number of suggestions for activities that would affect the development of the country have been made through this bill. A policy development office to allocate resources, draft national policies and review them is to be established through this bill. The national policies are to be drafted and forwarded to the Minister. The Minister will then present it to the Cabinet of Ministers and Parliament for approval. Enacting the draft that is compiled by the Policy Development Office after it receives parliamentary approval is vested with Development Agency. Power for investment, import and export, job creation, financial matters, infrastructure facility development and a number of other matters are vested with this institution. The agency will also have the power to create laws to enact national policies. The establishment of a regional development board has also been suggested in this bill. Thereby, regional development boards will be established in the south, northwest, central, eastern and in the northern regions. The board will comprise of a chairman appointed by the minister and a number of other members. They will be vested with the responsibility of implementing the decisions and the advice of the development agency and other development activities on a 3-year plan. The decisions pertaining to the demarcation of these regions are vested with the agency and a certificate needs to be obtained from the agency to invest in the regions. Meanwhile, provisions have been made to establish a board comprising the President and the Prime Minister for rural modernization. The board will also include the Ministers of Finance, the rural economy, land, development strategies and international trade, industries, agriculture, fisheries, plantation industries and animal husbandry, as well as the Chief Ministers of all the provinces and 7 other members appointed by the President in consultation with the Minister. The board shall monitor the implementation and review all activities of the development agency. In addition, an agency for international trade will also be established. Suggestions have been made to give broad authority to this agency with regard to imports and exports. It is suggested that the President is to annually summon a conference of the Cabinet of Ministers, Chief Ministers of the provinces and the chairpersons of parliamentary oversight committees to discuss the plans, programs, schemes and projects under this Act. The draft includes a statement that reads, "No action or prosecution shall be instituted against any act which is done in good faith."
The dangerous matter is that this has received some form of freedom from the court. If the head of the appointed institutions is doing a certain thing in good faith, he cannot be taken to court for a civil or criminal legal case. If he carried out a malpractice and if he implicates it as an act of good faith, he will be released. If this ministry is taken over by the Prime Minister, that will grant him more powers than the executive presidency. The only thing this act cannot do is to make a man a woman. Everything else can be done by a super minister for 3 years. The Prime Minister has the power to take a decision with regard to any state-owned land. The decisions cannot be challenged in court. This is an act that violates the Constitution. The joint opposition will take legal action against this act and go to the Supreme Court. The country itself can be sold. If this act is passed, the President will have nothing to do. When this comes to Parliament, there will be 7 days to challenge this in court. You can go to court during that time frame. Then this should be discussed in Parliament. We will provide our independent views regarding this act at that time as the SLFP. There are certain questionable matters. This needs to be amended in a way that a dictatorial minister will not be created. This is just another minister. The system of the country cannot be changed. There is no such group as super ministers. This needs to come to Parliament. Then it will be taken to court. Then certain matters will be said. We will see what happens in Parliament.
You're with News First, your number one news provider. Here's a look at several key judicial proceedings from today.
Former Minister Basil Rajapaksa, who was arrested along with former Secretary to the Ministry of Economic Development Dr. Nehal Jayatilaka, were granted permission to travel overseas by the Colombo High Court under strict bail conditions. Permission was granted subject to strict bail conditions, including 4 sureties of 50 million rupees each. Cases were filed against them at the Colombo High Court for 5 separate charges, which include the financial fraud of 2,991 million rupees from funds of the Department of Divinaguma. The Madhara Magistrates Court granted former Minister Basil Rajapaksa permission to travel overseas for a period of 3 months. Permission was granted when the case on the purchasing of a land in Eliyakanda Matara was taken up before the Chief Magistrate today. The Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division informed court today that it has sought advice from the Attorney General to file cases against 6 persons, including MP Namal Rajapaksa, under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Police presented facts to Colombo Additional Magistrate Nishantha Piris when the case filed against the said persons on misusing official powers to generate 45 million rupees was taken up today. The Additional Magistrate postponed the hearing to the 9th of February until advice from the AG is sought.
Speaking in Parliament today, Deputy Minister of Power and Renewable Energy Ajit P. Pereira made a revelation regarding a fraud at the Ceylon Electricity Board involving the Employee Provident Fund.
In 2009, money of the Employees Provident Fund of the Ceylon Electricity Board was handled by Silinko Shriram, and later that responsibility was handed over to Entrust Securities PLC to invest in treasury bonds. However, as of the 31st of December 2014, it was evident that around 3 billion rupees were missing from the central bank account. It was noted that Entrust Securities PLC had sold the bonds on the year of investment without permission from the CEB. An interest was received in a short period of time. The management was happy with the interest that was provided. However, based on information received later on, it was evident that though the money was provided, after the sale of bonds, the interest was provided in a fraudulent manner. Entrust Securities PLC has committed deception. Entrust is a company which was heavily involved in rugby tournaments organised with the assistance of Namal Rajapaksa. They might have invested this money in such activities.
A youth alleged to have made death threats to the president through Facebook was remanded until the 15th of December. The order was made by Colombo Chief Magistrate Kihan Pilapitiya today.
The suspect was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department and was produced in court today. Attorneys appearing on behalf of the suspect say that there was no such post in their client's Facebook account. The CID informed court that preliminary investigations had revealed that the suspect had in fact published such a post.
UNP MP SM Marika provided compensation to those who lost lands due to the renovation of the Ambathale Urugodavatta road.
Before taking this compensation, I arrived here with the final decision on the Colonnava garbage dump following discussions with the President and the Prime Minister. Garbage will not reach Colonnava after the 31st of December. I recall when I took over as organizer of the Colonnavi electorate, the situation was such that we had to simply look at the Colombo sky with no expectation. As the MP of the area, and I have been vested with the task of saving the people from this issue that was prevalent for 2 decades.
The majestic Stein Studios in Ratmalana was awarded the ISO certification 9001-2015 today and goes down in history as the first media organization in Sri Lanka to have received this certification.
Stein Studios, Sri Lanka's finest studio complex, production facility and one of the best in the region with top-range state-of-the-art studio facilities, is home to many international acclaimed movies, TV shows and TV commercials. Some of the great works of Stein Studios include international television game show franchise Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, mega reality TV show Serasa Superstar, Pentathlon and hosting the T20 Cricket Cup in 2012. Notably, the international movie Solar Eclipse, Death of Darkness was both shot and filmed at Stein Studios. In line with the certification of Stein Studios with the ISO certification 9001-2015, a ceremony was held to mark the awarding of the certification at the premises of Stein Studios. The event saw the participation of Group Director and CEO of the Capital Maharaj Organisation Limited, Mohan Barara, Group Director Electronic Media Business, Nidra Veera Singh, Channel Head Sirasa TV, Chandana Surya Bandara, HODs and several others.
Today is a very special day for Stein. We will be awarded with ISO certificate 9001-2015 today, which is the result of the journey we embarked on last year June under the leadership of our Group CEO Mr. Mohan Barara. Our strength in achieving this success is support from all our HODs.
The Faculty of Management and Finance of the University of Colombo will be hosting the 11th International Research Conference on Management and Finance in Colombo. This year's conference will feature an industry dialogue on academic papers spanning through a wide range of management topics.
This is an annual event organized to inculcate a research culture among the academia and the industry. We have the research committee continuously working on upgrading the research culture of the University of Colombo. While our teaching is based on research findings, we were incorporated research as a component for the both undergraduate and postgraduate program. The faculty has always promoting the research culture for the quality research work in the management field of the study.
The Scrum, what am I talking about? Is it politics? No, it is not. It's all about rugby with Dr. Maya Gunasekara, former national rugby coach. I believe Chaturang Haparachi is standing by. Chaturang, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sham. Good to see you back on the set. As Shami said, Scrum is all about rugby. We will be bringing you updates of the inter-club and inter-school rugby matches on this program every Thursday on our prime time news bulletin. As Shami said, we have Dr. Maya Gunasekara on the set. He was the former Sri Lankan rugby coach and the former chairman of selectors. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening.
Let me get to the topic straight away. The first session of the inter-club matches are coming to a close with just 2 more matches remaining. 2 major upsets for the big boys from Kandy. One with the Air Force and one with the Navy. What are your views?
Well, I wouldn't call it as an upset. Of course, you are saying it's an upset because Kandy were the previous, winners of this tournament for the last couple of years. But what you have to understand is now, you see, everybody is very fit, right? Everybody is playing good rugby. And, all the teams have very good coaches. They study each other. So the level of rugby fitness and the skill has gone up. So when you go for a match, it's tremendous spectator interest. You cannot predict the result before the game now. So this is what is happening. Now, if you take the Kandy Navy game, right, Kandy scored first and Navy shot to a lead of about 16-point margin. Kandy came back and Kandy was leading at the breather. And then 10 minutes, or I think a few minutes before the end of play, it was Kandy leading 32-30.
Yes.
And then Navy came back. So maybe if you played another 5 minutes,
there would
the
be a chance
result
that
would have changed.
yes.
So it's fantastic. I mean, this is what we want. This is what we want, and it is fantastic for the national selectors because they will have a wealth of talent to choose from. I think this is what we needed, and after a long time we are having an excellent tournament.
One more interesting point is, Doctor, that beat the Havies, beat the CRNFC or beat the Kandy, they don't have any more international players playing under them. It's all Sri Lankan talent, people who have been selected from the school level, inter-school rugby. They're all Sri Lankan citizens that are playing in the match. So this is also an interesting point, isn't it?
No. I think in the past, even when I was the president of the Rugby Union, we brought in foreign players just to, sort of beef up our players and to help them tackle bigger players.
Yes.
Now we have done that. And if you take the schools, in Asia, we are under 18 champions. I think we are under 16, under 20 schools Asian champions.
Yes.
So all those boys are now in clubs. You see, now I mean we don't need now any foreign input because as far as 15s are concerned, we are just below Korea, and our next aim is to beat Korea with a full national Sri Lankan team because Koreans are not playing any foreign nationals. So it speaks volumes and well for the future of Sri Lankan rugby.
Very quickly, we have two more matches in the first leg, the Havies match and the CR match. What are your thoughts? What do you think will happen?
Well, I think they'll be excellent matches. No one should even try to predict the result. You see, don't predict the result before the game. Go for the match. Enjoy it. All matches will be ding-dong. And that is what we want.
Thank you, Dr. Gunasekara, for coming to our studios. It's back to the main desk. Shamir?
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. If you missed out on any of the stories we just aired, you can log on to our website, www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Sonali Vanigabadage.
And I am Shamir Rasuluddin. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, take care and good night.